I'm Portland Helmick. Welcome to RFD. When Europeans began settling New England, home floor coverings were sparse. Canvas floor cloths, also called oilcloths, were used on top of dirt floors. And later they kept air from coming through the cracks of wooden floors. Lisa Curry Mair, an artist in Perkinsville, specializes in making a modern version of the colonial floor cloth.
Floor cloths came over to this country from England when the settlers first came over. They took worn sails off of ships and threw them down on the floor and slapped some paint on and some varnish and called it a rug to just sort of make do.
Floor cloths gained in popularity and by the early 1800s were being mass-produced. Not quite a century later, however, they were displaced by a brand new type of flooring.
As soon as they developed the technique for producing linoleum, floor cloths basically just came to a screeching halt. Around the 1970s, people rediscovered the craft. Then people started to research more and more the old traditional designs.
Lisa Curry Mair works alone in a quiet studio attached to her colonial farmhouse. For 8 years, she's been making canvas floor cloths of all shapes and sizes. She uses heavy canvas, similar to the sails the Pilgrims used.
Most of the larger pieces that I do are going into reproduction homes or old homes that have been restored. I do have 3 pieces in a museum in upstate New York, which was the Joseph Smith farmhouse. Joseph Smith's mother lived in Bethel, Vermont, and she was a floor cloth painter. And I was asked last year to do 3 floor cloths that would represent what she would have painted in that time. My favorite part of the whole process is the design part. Most of my designs are derived from historical recorded floor cloth designs. I do work with tile designs, and the computer helps me make my own patterns.
Before those patterns become part of a durable floor covering, however, Lisa must contend with the raw canvas.
Canvas is actually, before it gets finished with all the paint, it's very delicate, and if you fold it or crease it, you'll never get the crease out, no matter how much pressing and stretching and everything you do. And as I'm shrinking it, which involves soaking, I have to be very careful not to crease it again, which with a 10 by 12 foot piece of canvas, it can get tricky all by myself trying to pull this big, heavy, wet piece of canvas out. If you don't do that shrinking step, you get a canvas that's very warpy.
This piece will shrink about 8 inches and will be used to make a 10-foot hallway runner, as well as 2 smaller rugs. After the canvas dries, in about 24 hours, it's cut to size and the edges are hemmed. Though some use glue for this step, Lisa stays true to historical tradition, sewing the hems and mitering each corner so the floor cloth will lie flat.
With the sewn miter, the corner cannot poke through. You can't get a little tuft coming through. It's a continuous seam within that corner.
Now it's ready for paint.
I'm about to stencil this piece. Before I get to stenciling, I had to paint the hem. This is the sewn hem with the mitered corner. I paint the hem to match whatever color is going to be on this edge when it's finished. So it looks like it was painted continuously around. And then it was base coated with just white paint, which will be the background color. So then it's ready for the stenciling. The painting part on a large piece is usually a couple of weeks of painting different layers, detail work, and the finish work on the border. This is the finished piece after all of the stenciling is done, and then the border was added, and then 5 coats of polyurethane were applied, and it's ready to go on the floor.
Another way to create designs is by using a stamp.
I make my own stamps for another technique of applying a pattern. I use fun foam, which is a thin poly foam that's very easy to cut, and you can do very intricate shapes. The stamp also applies the paint in such a way that the weave of the canvas still shows.
When Lisa began, her designs were more whimsical than traditional.
People found that they were reluctant to put them on the floor. They'd put them on the wall and use them as poster art.
Now she focuses on more traditional geometric patterns, but on occasion still incorporates an animal image into her work. Many of Lisa's floor cloths feature a mariner's compass, an homage to the sails that were used to make the floor cloths of yesteryear.
The painting involves a lot of laying out the lines, and then sometimes I tape them and sometimes I do it freehand. If I tape them, you get a very crisp line. It almost looks machine done. I prefer to do a hand-painted line.
Finally, 4 to 5 coats of water-based polyurethane are applied to help the design withstand daily wear.
There are a lot of steps to learn, and it takes a lot of patience. I love doing the floor cloth as an art and as a craft.
And with their bright and welcoming patterns, it's easy to see why these floor coverings are making a comeback.